Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, today we're diving into something that is universally human, universally tough, but absolutely crucial. We're looking at the 6 steps for growth, specifically focusing on how to rebuild your confidence after a massive failure. Let's just be honest right out of the gate. Failure hurts. It genuinely stings, doesn't it? It shakes our self-belief right down to the core, makes us second-guess all our choices, and leaves us wondering if we really have what it takes. But today, we're going to unpack exactly how to turn that painful reality around and actually use it to propel us forward. So, first things first, what actually happens to us when we fail? Well, think of your confidence kind of like an inner engine. It fuels your action, your creativity, your resilience. But when a major setback hits, that engine suddenly sputters and slows down. And left unchecked, this loss of momentum makes us start playing small. It's just self-preservation, right? We fear that second sting of defeat, so we instinctively dodge risks, we start comparing ourselves to everybody else, and before you know it, one single failure spirals into a whole bunch of missed opportunities simply because we're too afraid to try again. But here is where we need a major paradigm shift. Winston Churchill really hit the nail on the head when he said, "Success is not final, failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts." Every single person who has achieved anything worthwhile has faced moments of intense, "I can't do this" kind of doubt. We have to realize that failure isn't the opposite of success. No, it's a completely necessary, unavoidable part of getting there. It's the friction that actually creates the traction. And look at the difference here. This brilliantly illustrates a vital distinction we have to make in our own heads if we want to move past that friction. There is a massive, literally life-altering difference between saying you failed at something and saying you are a failure. An outcome is just an event. It's a single snapshot in time. It's absolutely not a measure of your fundamental self-worth. When you actively separate these two things, failure instantly loses its power to define who you are. And that brings us to this really fascinating shift in perspective. Instead of viewing a setback through the lens of drama, all the heavy emotions, the relentless self-criticism, those catastrophic worst-case scenarios, we need to start viewing it as data. Every failure carries incredibly valuable feedback. If you just look at it objectively as pure information, it shows us exactly what broke down, where we needed more prep, or what blind spots we missed. You can use that hard data to create real, measurable progress. When you consciously decide to rebuild your confidence using that data, something amazing happens. You completely take back control of your story. You're no longer the victim of the setback, you become the architect of the comeback. Like Oprah Winfrey so beautifully put it, you have to turn your wounds into wisdom. By choosing to see the underlying lessons instead of just staring at the surface-level losses, you move forward stronger, way wiser, and so much more self-aware. Okay, so let's get into the how-to of it all. Here is our actionable roadmap, the 6 steps for growth. 1. Feel and let go. 2. Separate self-worth. 3. Extract lesson. 4. Start small. 5. Change the story. And 6. Connect with growth. Let's break these down real quick. Step 1, allow yourself to feel, then let it go. In our crazy, fast-paced world, we almost always try to rush past negative emotions. We just want the quick fix, right? But shoving those raw feelings down only delays your healing. It is completely okay to feel disappointed, frustrated, or even a bit broken for a minute. Give yourself permission to feel it. Sit with it. But, and this is absolutely crucial, you cannot unpack your bags and live in that pain. To keep from getting stuck there, you need some firm guardrails. Don't rush past the emotions, sure, but do set a mental deadline. Give yourself a specific time frame, maybe 24 hours, maybe a weekend, to just reflect and acknowledge the hurt. But once that deadline hits, you make a conscious, deliberate choice to move forward. Grieve the setback by all means. Just don't let that grief become your permanent identity. Moving right along to step 2, separate your self-worth from the outcome. I want to speak directly to you for a second here. You are worthy simply because you exist. Period. Your fundamental value as a human being has absolutely nothing to do with a quarterly financial result, a fancy job title, a breakup, or how a passion project went. Those are all external. You are always more than your mistakes, and your inherent value doesn't drop just because you stumbled. And that sets us up perfectly for step 3, extract the lesson from the experience. Remember that mindset shift from drama to data we talked about? This is it in action. True personal growth kicks in the exact second you stop looking up at the sky going, "Why me?" and instead look at the reality of the situation and ask, "Okay, what now?" To figure out that what now, grab a notebook. I highly recommend actually writing this down. honestly but kindly. What went wrong? What could I do differently next time? And what did this experience actually teach me? Writing it down forces so much clarity. It yanks those messy, anxious thoughts right out of your head and puts them on paper, where they magically turn from anxieties into clear, actionable insights. All right, you've got your insights. Step 4, start small to build momentum. Listen, confidence grows through action, not through endless overthinking or trying to perfectly plan your next move. You definitely don't need some massive, cinematic overnight comeback to get your groove back. In fact, trying to do too much too fast usually just leads to more paralysis. You just need to get the engine turning over again. So how do you do that? By stacking tiny victories. Complete one single simple task. Make that one call you've been putting off. Improve just one tiny daily habit. Your brain actually thrives on the dopamine hit of small completions. Each of these highly achievable little micro steps sends a powerful signal back to your brain, basically saying, hey, I've got this. These tiny wins stack up to quietly, steadily restore your belief in your own abilities. Now, while you're taking those physical actions out in the world, you also have to aggressively manage what's going on up in your head. Step 5 is to change the story you tell yourself. Your inner dialogue is everything. If you walk around constantly muttering, I'm not good enough or I always mess up, your mind acts like a search engine. It'll start actively hunting for evidence in your daily life to prove you right, completely filtering out the good stuff. The secret weapon here is reframing. Catch yourself in that negative self-talk and consciously swap in these alternatives. Tell yourself, this was a setback, not the end. I'm learning. I'm actually becoming stronger through this. You have to practice speaking to yourself with the exact same grace and patience you'd instinctively give to a good friend. To really lock this step in, think about this timeless quote from Henry Ford. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. It is such a stark, brilliant reminder that our self-perception directly dictates our reality. The boundaries of what you can achieve are mostly just set by your own mind. If you tell yourself a story of total defeat, you're going to be defeated. If you boldly tell yourself a story of growth, you'll grow. And hey, you absolutely do not have to do this alone. When we fail, shame often makes us want to hide. But step 6 is to surround yourself with growth-oriented people. Healing in total isolation is incredibly hard, and honestly, it's usually a trap. A lot of times our confidence doesn't just magically return in a quiet room by ourselves. It comes back through genuine, uplifting connection with others. You want to actively seek out folks who encourage growth, not gossip. Take a hard look at the people you spend the most time with. Are they fueling your rebuild, or are they draining it? You need people in your corner who really believe in your potential and who will intentionally remind you of your unique strengths when you're feeling down. Let them reflect back the highly capable version of yourself that you might have temporarily lost sight of. So, bringing it all together, based on the 6 steps for growth we just covered, what is failure, really? Ultimately, it's a comma, not a full stop. It's just a pause in your larger story. A purposeful pause that invites reflection, resilience, and some incredible reinvention. Every single setback you face literally carries the seed of a much stronger, wiser comeback, if you choose to look at it that way. Because ultimately, getting your confidence back doesn't mean sitting safely on the sidelines waiting until you feel 100% ready. The truth is you might never feel completely ready. True confidence is built in the arena. Rebuilding means taking a deep breath, stepping forward, and just choosing to show up. Imperfectly, consistently, bravely. You start again not because you haven't failed, but because you're still here, you're still learning, and you are still deeply capable of great things. Well, that brings us to the end of our explainer today. We've walked through the 6 steps for growth. You know that inner engine can be restarted. You know failure refines you, it doesn't define you. So, the only question left to ask yourself is, will you stand back up?